Wow. I wish you could see what I'm looking at, what we're looking at. You look amazing. Make some noise, class of 2017. Let's go. Woo! Before I get started, I have to honor 3 women who are instrumental in me being here today. First, my mom, who's 88 years old and lives in Sweden. It's 4 o'clock in the morning there now, and she's sound asleep. But I FaceTimed with her on the way to the stadium this afternoon, and I showed her my cap. And I asked her what she thought about it, and she said she loved the word peace. And she wishes you all peace and our global community peace. It's her favorite word and her biggest wish. The other person is my sister, who also lives in Sweden, but she's watching through live streaming right now. So, salam Farah, دوست دارم. And last but not least, my aunt Parveen, Khale Parveen, who sponsored, nurtured, and supported me and invited me to the United States, which is the reason why I'm standing here today. She lives in Iran now, and I send her a lot of love. I'd like to pause now in a moment of silence to honor Richard Collins III, who would have graduated from Bowie State University 2 days ago, and send his family our love and deepest condolences for their immense loss. Thank you. All right, congratulations to all of you hardworking graduates for having made it through to the finish line. Congratulations to the faculty and staff that have given you the tools and mentorship to make it this far. And congratulations to all the parents, family members, and friends who've supported you on your way to your success. My name is Neda Nobari, and I am an alumna of San Francisco State University. Go class of '84! Woo! I am so excited to be here with you and privileged to be in the presence of our esteemed honorees, Peter Casey and Johnny Mathis, as well as President Wong, Provost Summit, the deans, faculty, staff, and our foundation board directors. When I graduated from San Francisco State University at the age of 21, I was foolish enough not to attend my own commencement ceremony and to pause for a day to celebrate along with my peers, professors, and friends like all of you are doing here today. 31 years later, I finally got my chance to walk in a commencement ceremony when I earned my master's degree from Dartmouth College at the age of 52. That was 2 years ago. So you can imagine the joy and gratitude that I feel now standing in front of you, making up for lost times. As you will soon learn, as you enter the world as postgraduates, once a Gator, always a Gator. Yeah. Aside from my personal elation, I'm also touched by our university's choice to have an Iranian American woman as this year's commencement speaker, particularly in this climate characterized by a powerful political subculture, rife with the manufactured fear of immigrants, intolerance of race, gender, religious faiths, and the right to choice. Power does not, and I will repeat this again, power does not have the right to lie and deny our democracy. And I have the greatest faith that this uncomfortable time in the history of this country will serve to define and sharpen our decency and compassion and our love for America. That is why you, the graduates of 2017, are so very valuable, so very important. Right now, to show the world what we stand for, what we are made of, and the democratic ideals that we hold true. You are the future, and upon your great achievements, a higher, more just, and enlightened world will evolve. With my being here, San Francisco State University makes it clear that in our beautiful city, love transcends hate. I was born in Iran and moved to the United States in the fall of 1978 with the intention of returning home after finishing my studies. As some of you might know, 1978 was the beginning of the unfolding of the Iranian Revolution. And not unlike what we've been witnessing and experiencing in this country this year, the streets of Tehran were filled with protests and resistance movements, with the hope to the end to human rights violations and establishment of democracy. I was 15 years old when I left my home country in 1978, unaware of the unintended consequences of a revolution and a war looming in the horizon, and what that would mean for my future. Despite my parents' great concerns, I left Tehran for San Francisco to live with my aunt, uncle, and cousin. Now, as a parent to two young men who are here supporting me, I can truly appreciate the sacrifice that my parents made by allowing me to make a new life for myself through the pursuit of a higher education in the United States, halfway around the globe from Iran. Although none of us knew at that time that this decision would change our relationship forever by creating a geographic separation between my family and I for the past 38 years. When I arrived in California, I was able to complete one dreadful year of high school, riddled with homesickness and tense hostilities and prejudice from peers, fueled by the US-Iranian hostage crisis taking place at that time. I quickly completed everything required of me to transfer to a local community college in Marin County, which I attended for 2 years before that led me to San Francisco State University. By default, like most Iranian students at that time, I majored in math and graduated with a bachelor's degree in computer science. What became abundantly clear early on, however, was that for me, transformational education wouldn't come from sitting in a classroom, but instead, noetic moments were found in embracing my surroundings, standing outside of the student union, and watching my peers protest issues that mattered to them without fear of repercussion. I remember those experiences vividly as I watched democracy in action on our campus. It was those moments that set the stage for my future and helped shape me into the person that I have become. It was my first job as a software engineer that led me to a 22-year career in the fashion industry, an exhilarating, fast-paced, and demanding period of my life during which I also raised a family. Over the 2 decades, as a director and vice chair of BB Stores, I witnessed the expansion and growth of a small company into a publicly traded international brand with a market capitalization of over $1 billion. In the process, I also experienced globalization and its discontent, outsourcing, the shutting down of factories, and countless jobs lost. This phenomenon that affected so many families would eventually be crystallized during my academic years as a liberal arts graduate student at Dartmouth College while exploring the economic backlash of 3 decades of neoliberal policies of privatization and deregulation. As you will soon experience, life happens in an instant, and it unfolds in ways that you could have never imagined or been prepared for. It's important to know, as your parents remind you this often, that as difficult as life's challenges might seem, new doors will always open, and new opportunities will be around the corner. I experienced a tremendous life shift in 2006 when the 3 primary pillars of my life, my marriage, my career, and my home, simultaneously came to a close. It was during the difficult period that followed that I was forced to re-examine my values and reprioritize my goals. And it was during this time of transformation that I began to understand my responsibility as a global citizen and as an advocate for social justice. My greatest rewards in life would come from the service to others. At that time, I also came to realize the value of the education that I had received and the role that public higher education plays as the social escalator and the best way to chip away at inequality. Public institutions like San Francisco State University make it possible to obtain an education for students who may not otherwise have a chance to pursue a higher education. From 1982 till 1984, as a foreign student whose country was in the middle of a war, I was one of those students. San Francisco State University, for me, became a place of hope. It became my home place. And now, as an alumna and as a member of the university's foundation board, I am proud to give back to a university that leads by example, providing not only scholarships, but housing, mentorship, educational and emotional support to former foster youth and the incarcerated. I am proud of our Guardian Scholars Program and Project Rebound, innovative and effective programs that serve as models for other universities to follow. I'm also proud of San Francisco State University's inclusive culture that embraces diversity in all its forms, from its board to its faculty, staff, all the way to its impressive student body. All of you, all of us, are representatives of how beautiful the picture of a community can be when we see the world in full color. In a place like the San Francisco Bay Area, where one can easily see the real contributions of immigrant communities, it becomes impossible to imagine a world tapestry without its rich and colorful fibers. For many people, immigrants are the best teachers of the world. Their stories increase everyone's humanity and capacity for empathy and teach us about peace and understanding. Following in the footsteps of my peers who inspired me with their call to action speeches over 35 years ago, I would like to take this opportunity to ask all of you for your support in resisting the travel ban, previously known as the Muslim ban. on an arbitrary list of 6 countries, including Iran, with absolutely no linkage to any violent acts in the United States. This ban is politically and economically motivated, a distraction aimed at misguiding the American public opinion and causing fear for hundreds of thousands of innocent families while not making us any safer. It is time for us to address the root causes of conflicts and hold a higher humanitarian attitude towards those who, through persecution and violence, have been forced to leave their homes and migrate to distant lands to save their families from destruction. The choice so often being one between life or death. I would also like to ask you for your support of the DREAM Act. Sergio Romo, yes, DREAM Act, Sergio Romo. The pitcher for our very own San Francisco Giants until this year, who's a first-generation Mexican-American, said it best when speaking about the Dreamers. I quote, "When I hear of students being undocumented, I take it as kids going to school and trying to learn to get better. I don't see any negative in that. They deserve a chance to live their dream, and we all win if they do." It is time for the DREAM Act to pass through Congress and become a real act. It is time for the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals to become a path to permanent residency for the undocumented students who are pursuing higher education and want to contribute to the betterment of our collective community. Todos tenemos el derecho de soñar. Woo! It is in fact time for a new vision for our collective dream, one that values the rights of nature, the indigenous peoples, Muslims, Mexicans, African Americans, old and new immigrants, and LGBTQ members of our community. And finally, I ask you for your support of the College for All Act, which would have the government take full responsibility for educating its next generations of Americans, ending the federal government's ability to profit from student loans and allowing students to refinance existing loans at lower rates. There is no doubt that many of you here would be affected by one or more of these initiatives. Experientia docet. Experience teaches. Our university's motto suggests that there is no substitute in life for experience. Reflecting on my journey as a successful businesswoman, mother, friend, and community member, my hope is to provide a spark of inspiration to you, the graduating class of 2017. Number 1, treat all people with dignity. I have seen and experienced how it takes a community to start and build a company, a nonprofit organization, and a family. It truly takes a village to do anything in life. It always boils down to the people that you surround yourself with and the relationships that you build. We must begin to measure life success not only by economic achievements and accomplishments, but also by the strength of our relationships that we establish with our spouses, partners, coworkers, employees, family, friends, neighbors, and strangers. Number 2, be a lifelong learner. I know it sounds cliche, but it's true that your education cannot stop today. A functioning democracy depends on its educated and well-informed citizens. We are its social critics and transmitters of the values required for living in a free and just society. Indeed, this very concept of critical consciousness, as it was envisioned by the great educator and philosopher Paulo Freire, insists that it is our greatest responsibility to each use our socio-cultural and political tools to contest oppression in its many forms, to read the world, and most importantly, to question everything. Whether you are now a qualified nurse or an engineer, an accountant, a teacher, a social worker, an artist, or a lifelong academic, your education will continue, and your participation as an active member of our society remains essential. For those of us who have come from other countries, who've had to pay dearly in pursuit of freedom and prosperity, our lived experiences underscore the importance of such an engagement and participation. Number 3, be grateful. Gratitude is not an obligation, it's a way of life. It's human nature to take the things we have for granted and to always wish for more. I don't want you to confuse this advice with stifling ambition. There is, however, a big difference between ambition and greed. Be thankful every day, remembering that yesterday, today, and tomorrow are all gifts. It's especially when life tends to treat you unfairly that gratitude becomes even more important, because it is in the act of taking an inventory of all the things you do have that you come to realize and appreciate the abundance of your blessings. Number 4, be all in with your commitments. Life is too precious to waste time on mediocrity. This will become more evident as you get older, like me, and realize the finite nature of resources, including time. Break out of your comfort zone. That's when you grow. Be selective about your commitments. Show up even when you're scared, especially when you're scared. And don't give up before the miracle happens. As Wallace Stevens said, after the final no, there comes a yes, and on that yes, the future world depends. Number 5, always give back and pay it forward. When I was a student at San Francisco State University, I shared a one-bedroom apartment in Daly City with 2 other young Iranian students. My share of the rent was $185 a month. That's all I could afford. And somehow I still managed to donate $20 a month to Planned Parenthood, because to me it mattered. Years later, I was able to give back to a university that changed my life's trajectory. Last year, I gave San Francisco State University a $5 million gift towards the establishment of a Center for Iranian Diaspora Studies, with a special emphasis on the arts and humanities. This center has a focus on the implications of migration as the 21st century's defining issue and a future shaped by humanity on the move, whether for climate reasons, conflict over natural resources, or human rights issues. While over time, I've been lucky enough to increase the size of my giving, my intentions and aspirations towards the betterment of our community has remained undeterred. I hope that you will take your passions and support them with your energy, power, and money when you can, because it is fighting for the things that matter to you that will shape the outcome of your lives. As an alumna and a supporter of San Francisco University, I hope to be back at a future commencement ceremony 10, 20, or 30 years from now to hear one of you from the graduating class of 2017 speak about your experience as a student at San Francisco State University. Your time is now, and one day I hope to see you pay it forward towards the future generations of Gators. I wish you all an adventurous and meaningful journey ahead. Let your voices be heard. Make an impact. Make some noise.